Chapter 1. Shadows of Yesterday. Daniel Morris had always hated first dates. Not because he was socially awkward, he could hold a conversation about anything from baseball stats to the merits of pineapple on pizza, but because first dates were like job interviews with cocktails. Everyone was trying to look like the best version of themselves, and Daniel had never been good at pretending. He was honest to a fault, which apparently wasn't a selling point in the modern dating market. Tonight, though, he wasn't thinking about dates. He was thinking about Amanda Green. Amanda, his best friend since kindergarten. The girl who once shared her crayons with him when he cried because his blue snapped in half. The woman who now sat across from him at their favorite coffee shop, stirring her latte like it had personally offended her. Daniel leaned back in his chair, watching her with the same quiet fascination he'd carried for 20 years. She was beautiful, but not in the glossy magazine way. Amanda had the kind of beauty that snuck up on you. The curve of her smile when she was about to say something sarcastic, the way her green eyes lit up when she laughed. He'd memorized those details long ago, filed them away in the part of his brain labeled "Do Not Touch." Because friends were safe. Friends didn't break your heart. Amanda sighed dramatically and dropped her spoon onto the saucer. Well, that was a disaster. Daniel smirked. What happened? Did he turn out to be a serial killer? Please tell me you didn't meet him on that app with the weird fish logo. Plenty of fish? She rolled her eyes. No, this one was from Bumble. And no, he wasn't a serial killer. Just emotionally unavailable. He spent half the date talking about his ex and the other half asking if I wanted kids someday. Daniel winced. Wow. Nothing says romance like hypothetical parenting. Amanda laughed, and the sound hit him like sunlight breaking through clouds. He'd never told her that. Never told her how her laugh could make the worst day feel survivable. Instead, he grinned like the best friend he was supposed to be. You know, he said, taking a sip of his coffee, you could always stop dating guys who treat you like a therapist. And do what? Join a convent. She arched a brow. Not everyone can be a perpetual bachelor like you, Daniel. He shrugged, feigning nonchalance. Hey, I'm not a bachelor by choice. I just haven't met the right person. Amanda snorted. You've been saying that since high school. Maybe the right person's hard to find, he said softly, but she didn't catch the weight in his voice. She was too busy scrolling through her phone, probably deleting the guy's number. Daniel looked out the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. He wondered, not for the first time, what would happen if he told her the truth. If he said, Amanda, it's you. It's always been you. Would she laugh? Would she pity him? Or would she run, leaving him with nothing but memories of shared crayons and late-night talks? He hated himself for not telling her years ago, for living in this half-life, waiting for something that might never happen. Amanda set her phone down and leaned forward, chin resting on her hand. You ever think about what life would be like if we just gave up on dating? Daniel blinked. Gave up? Yeah, like, stopped trying to find the one. Maybe we're not meant for epic love stories. Maybe we're just meant to be single and eat cake. He chuckled. Cake sounds good. Chocolate cake, she said with a mischievous smile. Always chocolate. Daniel's stomach tightened. Chocolate cake was Amanda's tell. Whenever she wanted something big, a favor, a rescue mission, a crazy scheme, she showed up with chocolate cake. He didn't know why, but he knew it was coming. The storm before the storm. He smiled anyway because that's what he did. You planning something? Amanda's grin widened, and for a moment, Daniel felt like the ground beneath him shifted. He didn't know it yet, but his life was about to turn upside down. Chapter 2. Chocolate cake and bombshells. Daniel Morris knew two things for certain. 1. Amanda Green never showed up at his apartment before noon unless something was wrong. 2. Chocolate cake was never just dessert. It was a bribe. He stared at the box in her hands like it was a ticking bomb. The glossy cardboard promised decadence, but Daniel knew better. Chocolate cake meant trouble. Big trouble. Amanda breezed in without knocking, because of course she did, and set the box on his kitchen counter with a flourish. Morning, sunshine, she said, her voice too cheerful for someone carrying confectionery contraband. Daniel narrowed his eyes. What did you do? Amanda blinked innocently, which was her first mistake. She was terrible at pretending innocence. What makes you think I did something? Daniel gestured at the cake like it was Exhibit A. Because you brought chocolate cake. You only bring chocolate cake when you're about to ask me for something insane. Last time it was helping you move your entire apartment in one day. Before that, it was pretending to be your boyfriend at your cousin's wedding so you didn't have to sit at the singles table. Amanda grinned, unrepentant. You looked good in that suit. Daniel crossed his arms. Amanda, she sighed, pulling out 2 plates and forks like she owned the place. Which, to be fair, she practically did. Okay, fine. I need a favor. Daniel leaned against the counter, bracing himself. How big are we talking? Like, help me hide a body big or drive me to the airport big? Amanda slid a plate toward him, the cake slice rich and sinful. Bigger. Daniel stared at her. Define bigger. Amanda took a deep breath, the kind that made Daniel's stomach knot because he knew this was going to be bad. My grandfather left me a trust. Daniel blinked. Okay. Congratulations? There's a catch, Amanda said. stabbing her fork into the cake like it had personally offended her. I can only access it if I'm married. And stay married. For 5 years. Daniel laughed. He couldn't help it. The sound burst out of him like a pressure valve. You're joking. Amanda didn't laugh. She didn't even smile. Daniel's laughter died a quick, awkward death. You're not joking. Nope. Amanda pushed the cake closer to him like it was a peace offering. I want you to marry me. Daniel stared at her, fork frozen halfway to his mouth. Come again. Amanda's cheeks flushed pink, but her chin lifted like she was bracing for impact. Marry me. For 5 years. It's just a contract. We sign the papers, play house, and then after 5 years I give you a cut of the trust. A big cut. Daniel set the fork down slowly, like sudden movements might make the situation worse. Amanda, do you hear yourself? This isn't asking me to help you move a couch. This is marriage. I know, she said quickly. But it's not real marriage. It's logistics. Legal stuff. Daniel stared at her, his heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. She had no idea what she was asking. No idea that he'd spent half his life loving her in silence. And now she wanted him to marry her like it was a business transaction. He forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow even to him. You're unbelievable. Amanda leaned forward, eyes pleading. Daniel, please. You're the only person I trust to do this. Anyone else would make it weird. Daniel barked out a laugh that was half hysteria. Oh, this isn't weird? Amanda, this is the definition of weird. She winced. Okay, yes, it's weird, but it's also practical. You're my best friend. We've known each other forever. Our families wouldn't even blink if we said we were getting married. Daniel rubbed a hand over his face, trying to think through the fog of shock and the ache in his chest. Amanda, do you realize what you're asking me to give up? 5 years of my life. 5 years of pretending. Amanda's voice softened. I know, and I'll make it worth your while. I'll give you. Daniel cut her off, his tone sharper than he intended. Stop. If I do this, it's not for money. Amanda blinked, startled. Then why would you? Because, Daniel said, then bit back the rest. Because I love you. Because I've loved you since we were kids, and I'm a fool who would burn down my own life just to keep you smiling. He swallowed hard and forced his voice steady. If I agree, there are conditions. Amanda tilted her head, wary. Conditions? Daniel nodded, his jaw tight. No dating other people. No bringing anyone else into this arrangement. Nothing that would humiliate me. If we're doing this, we do it properly. Publicly. No games. Amanda hesitated, guilt flickering across her face. That's a lot. Daniel's eyes locked on hers. Amanda, you're asking me to give up 5 years of my life. I'm not going to be your placeholder while you flirt with other guys. Her cheeks flushed deeper, and for a moment, Daniel thought he saw something. Shame? Regret? Before she looked away. You're right. I'm sorry. I didn't think about how it sounded. Daniel exhaled slowly, the weight of everything pressing down on him. Think about it. Really think about it. Because if we do this, it's not just paperwork. It's 5 years of pretending to be something we're not. Amanda nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. Okay, I'll think about it. Daniel watched her gather her things, the chocolate cake sitting untouched between them like a silent witness. When the door closed behind her, he stared at the empty apartment and wondered if he just agreed to the best or worst decision of his life. Chapter 3, Terms and Conditions. Amanda Green had never been good at waiting. Patience was a virtue she admired in other people, like Daniel, but had never managed to cultivate herself. So when she left his apartment after dropping the chocolate cake bombshell, she spent the next 24 hours pacing her living room, replaying every word of their conversation. Conditions. He'd said it like a man laying down the law, and Amanda couldn't even blame him. She was asking for something outrageous. Marriage. 5 years of his life. And she'd offered him money like that would make it okay. The memory made her cringe so hard she nearly dropped her coffee mug. She loved Daniel. She always had. In that quiet, safe way you love someone who's been part of your life forever. But she'd never let herself think beyond friendship. It was easier that way. Safer. Because if she admitted what she really felt, what she'd felt since high school, she risked losing him completely. And Amanda couldn't imagine a world without Daniel in it. Her phone buzzed, jolting her out of her spiral. A text from Daniel? Can you come over? We need to talk. Amanda stared at the screen, her stomach doing somersaults. We need to talk. The 4 most terrifying words in the English language. She grabbed her keys before she could overthink it and drove to his apartment, rehearsing a dozen ways to say forget it, bad idea, and ignoring the part of her that didn't want to forget it at all. Daniel opened the door before she knocked, like he'd been waiting. He looked calm. Too calm, which was never a good sign. Hey, Amanda said, forcing a smile. You texted. Yeah. He stepped aside, letting her in. We need to figure this out. Amanda perched on the edge of his couch, nerves buzzing under her skin. Figure what out? Daniel sat across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped like he was about to negotiate a hostage situation. The marriage thing. Amanda swallowed hard. Right? He took a deep breath. If I agree, there are rules. Amanda blinked. Rules. Conditions, he corrected. His voice steady but his jaw tight. This can't be a free-for-all. If we're doing this, it has to look real. To everyone. Amanda nodded slowly. Okay. What kind of conditions? Daniel met her gaze, and for a second, Amanda forgot how to breathe. His eyes were serious, almost fierce, the kind of look that made her feel like he could see straight through her. No dating other people, he said. No flirting, no exes. No. Whatever happened at your cousin's wedding when you danced with that guy who looked like he belonged on a romance novel cover. Amanda's cheeks burned. That was one time. Daniel didn't smile. Amanda, I'm serious. If we're married, even if it's just on paper, you can't make me look like an idiot. Amanda flinched at the edge in his voice. I would never. You did, he said quietly, and the words hit harder than she expected. Not on purpose, but you've hurt me before. Amanda stared at him, guilt twisting in her chest. She wanted to argue, to say he was wrong, but deep down she knew he wasn't. Every time she'd gushed about some guy, every time she dragged Daniel into her dating drama, she chipped away at something she couldn't see, something fragile and important. I'm sorry, she whispered. Daniel nodded, but his expression didn't soften. If we do this, it's all in. No half measures. We act like a real couple. Publicly, privately. No games. Amanda's heart thudded. You mean, like living together? Yes. Amanda blinked. Daniel, that's necessary, he said firmly. If we're married and living apart, people will talk. Your family will talk. Theodore will definitely talk. Amanda groaned. My grandfather is going to love this. Daniel almost smiled at that, but it didn't reach his eyes. There's more. Amanda threw up her hands. Of course there is. No secrets, Daniel said. If something happens, anything, you tell me. No surprises. Amanda nodded, her throat tight. Okay. Daniel leaned back, studying her like he was trying to read her mind. Think about it, Amanda. Really think about it. Because once we start, there's no going back. Amanda swallowed hard, her pulse racing. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to say no. She wanted to run and stay and maybe kiss him just to see what would happen. Instead, she said the only thing she could. I'll think about it. Daniel nodded, his expression unreadable. Good. Amanda stood, her legs shaky, and headed for the door. When she glanced back, Daniel was still sitting there, looking like a man who just handed over his heart and hoped she wouldn't break it. Chapter 4. Family Matters. Daniel Morris had faced some nerve-wracking moments in his life. Job interviews, car breakdowns on the motorway. That time he accidentally called his boss, Mom, during a meeting. But nothing compared to sitting in Amanda's parents' living room with a ring box in his pocket and a lie the size of a small country hanging over his head. Technically, it wasn't a lie. Not yet. They were getting married. There would be vows, rings, and a legal certificate. It was just missing the part where they were madly in love and couldn't live without each other. For Daniel, that part was painfully true. For Amanda, he wasn't so sure. Amanda sat beside him on the sofa, her knee brushing his. She looked calm. Too calm. Like someone who'd practiced her poker face in the mirror. Daniel envied her composure. His palms were sweating so badly he was afraid to touch anything. Her mother, Claire, perched on the armchair opposite them, eyes bright with curiosity. So, she said, drawing out the word like a cat playing with a mouse. You two have news? Amanda smiled, the kind of smile that could sell ice to penguins. We do. Daniel and I, we're engaged. Claire blinked, then blinked again. Engaged? As in a marriage? Yes, Amanda said, her voice steady. We've been talking about it for a while, and we decided it was time. Daniel nodded, trying to look like a man deeply in love, and not like someone who'd spent the last 3 nights Googling how to fake confidence. It just felt right, he said, hoping his voice didn't crack. Claire's gaze flicked between them, sharp and assessing. Well, that's unexpected. Amanda laughed lightly. Why? We've known each other forever. That's exactly why, Claire said, her tone dry. You've been best friends since you were 5. And now suddenly you're getting married. Amanda squeezed Daniel's hand, and he nearly jumped. Sometimes the best things are right in front of you, she said sweetly. Daniel swallowed hard, wondering if she realized how true that was for him. Before Claire could respond, the front door opened and Theodore Green strode in like he owned the place, which technically he did. Amanda's grandfather was a tall man with silver hair, a tailored suit, and the kind of presence that made everyone sit up straighter. He carried an umbrella in one hand and a mischievous glint in his eye. Well, Theodore said, hanging his coat. What's this I hear about an engagement? Amanda stood to hug him. Hi, Grandpa. Yes, Daniel and I are getting married. Theodore's brows shot up, but his smile was warm. About time. Daniel blinked. About time. Theodore chuckled, settling into the armchair beside Claire. Son, I've been waiting for this since you two were in nappies. You've been orbiting each other for decades. Frankly, I was starting to think you'd need divine intervention. Daniel forced a laugh, but inside, his stomach flipped. If only Theodore knew how close to divine intervention this whole scheme was. Amanda rolled her eyes. Grandpa. Theodore waved a hand. Don't grandpa me. I'm thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. When's the wedding? Amanda hesitated. We were thinking soon. Soon. Claire repeated, her tone sharp enough to cut glass. Define soon. 3 months, Amanda said quickly, shooting Daniel a look that said back me up or die trying. Daniel nodded, his throat dry. 3 months sounds reasonable. Claire stared at them like they just announced they were moving to Mars. 3 months? Amanda, weddings take time. Planning, venues, guests. Theodore interrupted with a grin. Nonsense. If they want 3 months, they'll have 3 months. Love waits for no one. Daniel almost choked on his coffee. Love. If only Theodore knew. Amanda smiled, but Daniel could feel the tension radiating off her. He squeezed her hand under the table. A silent promise. We'll survive this. Somehow. Theodore leaned back, eyes twinkling. Well then, let's see how in love you two really are. Daniel froze. Excuse me? Theodore's grin widened. Kiss her. Amanda's head snapped toward her grandfather. What? Kiss her? Theodore repeated, his tone casual but his gaze sharp. Right here. Right now. Show us you mean it. Daniel's brain short-circuited. He'd imagined kissing Amanda 1,000 times, usually in scenarios involving candlelight and soft music, not under the scrutiny of her family in broad daylight. Amanda's eyes met his, wide and panicked. For a moment, neither moved. Then slowly she leaned in. Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs. He could smell her shampoo, feel the warmth of her breath, and then her lips touched his, soft, hesitant, electric. The world tilted. For Daniel, it wasn't a kiss for show. It was everything he'd ever wanted, wrapped in 3 seconds of borrowed perfection. When they pulled back, Amanda's cheeks were flushed, and Daniel's pulse was a runaway train. Theodore smiled like a man who'd just won a bet. Well, he said, settling back with a satisfied sigh. That looked real enough. Daniel wasn't sure if he could speak, because for him it had been real. Too real. Chapter 5. The kiss that changed everything. Daniel Morris had kissed Amanda Green exactly once in his life. It lasted 3 seconds, happened under the watchful eyes of her family, and was supposed to be nothing more than a performance. A quick, convincing gesture to silence Theodore Green's suspicions. It didn't feel like a performance. Daniel replayed it in his head all night, lying on his bed staring at the ceiling like a man who'd just glimpsed heaven and been shoved back to earth. Her lips had been soft, warm, hesitant but real. And for those 3 seconds, Daniel forgot every rule, every condition, every reason why this was supposed to be fake. He wanted more. God help him, he wanted more. Amanda wasn't faring much better. She sat cross-legged on her bed, laptop open, wedding spreadsheets glowing on the screen, but her mind was stuck on that kiss. It was supposed to be simple, a quick peck to keep Grandpa happy. Instead, it felt like someone had flipped a switch inside her. She'd kissed men before, plenty of them, but none of those kisses had left her heart pounding like a drum or her thoughts spiraling into dangerous territory. What if Daniel kissed me like that because he wanted to? What if he's always wanted to? Amanda groaned and flopped back on the pillows. This was a disaster. She was supposed to be focused on logistics, venues, guest lists, floral arrangements, not wondering what Daniel's hands would feel like tangled in her hair. Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. We need to talk. Tomorrow? Amanda stared at the message, her pulse skipping. Talk about what? The kiss? The wedding? Yes. She typed back. Sure. Coffee? His reply came almost instantly. Coffee. 10 a.m. Amanda closed her laptop and buried her face in a pillow. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. The next morning, Daniel was already at the cafe when Amanda walked in, looking effortlessly gorgeous in jeans and a soft sweater that made him want to forget every condition he'd set. He stood as she approached, because his mother raised him right, and tried to ignore the way his stomach flipped when she smiled. Morning, Amanda said, sliding into the seat across from him. You look tense. Daniel gave a humorless laugh. Understatement of the year. Amanda ordered her usual latte, then leaned forward, chin resting on her hand. So, what's on your mind? Daniel hesitated, fingers drumming on the table. He'd rehearsed this conversation a dozen times, but now that she was here, all the words felt wrong. Too small for what he wanted to say. About yesterday, he began. Amanda's cheeks flushed. The kiss. Daniel's throat went dry. Yeah, the kiss. Amanda fiddled with her spoon, avoiding his gaze. It was convincing. Daniel stared at her, frustration and longing tangling in his chest. Convincing. That was all it was to her? A performance? Convincing, he repeated flatly. Amanda glanced up, eyes uncertain. Wasn't it? Daniel leaned back, exhaling hard. Amanda, I don't know what this is anymore. We started this as a business arrangement, but yesterday, it didn't feel fake. Amanda's heart thudded. Daniel, he shook his head, cutting her off. I need to know what we're doing, because if this is just about money, tell me now. I can handle that. But if it's more, if there's even a chance it's more, I need to know before I lose my mind. Amanda stared at him, Words stuck in her throat. She wanted to say it's more. She wanted to say I've loved you for years. But fear held her back. The fear of ruining everything, of losing him completely if she said the wrong thing. I don't know, she whispered. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then figure it out. Because I can't keep pretending this doesn't matter. Amanda nodded, her chest aching. Okay. They sat in silence, the hum of the cafe filling the space between them. For the first time in their lives, Amanda felt the weight of what they weren't saying, and the terrifying possibility of what they could. Chapter 6. Wedding Plans and What Ifs. Amanda Green had always imagined her wedding as something simple. Maybe a courthouse ceremony, a cute dress, and a celebratory dinner with family afterward. She'd never been the type to dream about ballrooms and floral arches. But apparently, her family had other ideas. 3 months is barely enough time for a proper wedding, Claire declared, flipping through a bridal magazine like a general planning a military campaign. We'll need a venue, catering, flowers, music, Amanda groaned. Mom, we don't need all that. We can just… No daughter of mine is getting married in a courthouse, Claire said firmly. This is a celebration, a family event. Amanda shot Daniel a desperate look across the kitchen table. He was sipping coffee, looking far too amused for someone about to be dragged into a floral hurricane. Help me, Amanda mouthed. Daniel grinned. I think your mom has a point. Amanda glared. Traitor. Daniel chuckled, leaning back in his chair. Come on, Amanda. It's not the worst thing in the world. A big wedding could make this look more convincing. Amanda froze. He was right. A courthouse wedding might raise eyebrows. A full-blown event? No one would suspect a thing. Fine, she muttered. But I'm not wearing a tiara. Claire ignored her, already making notes. We'll book the country club. It's elegant, and Theodore will love it. Amanda groaned again, but Daniel's quiet laugh softened the blow. She hated how much she liked that sound. Later that night, Amanda and Daniel sat on her couch surrounded by wedding magazines and a laptop open to a spreadsheet. It felt surreal, like they'd stepped into someone else's life. Okay, Amanda said, scrolling through venue options. Country club, hotel ballroom, or… Oh, here's a vineyard. Daniel raised a brow. A vineyard? Sounds fancy. Amanda smirked. You'd look good in a vineyard. Daniel's heart skipped. You think I'd look good anywhere? Amanda blinked, startled by the weight in his voice. For a moment, the air between them shifted, charged, fragile. Then she laughed, too brightly. Don't get cocky. Daniel smiled, but inside, he was unraveling. Every joke, every glance, every accidental touch was torture. He wanted to tell her everything, to rip off the mask and say, Amanda, I'm not doing this for appearances. I'm doing this because I love you. But he didn't, because if she didn't feel the same, he'd lose her forever. Amanda cleared her throat, trying to shake off the strange tension. What about music? DJ or live band? Band, Daniel said without hesitation. Classy. Amanda grinned. Look at you, Mr. Sophisticated. Daniel shrugged. I have layers. Amanda laughed, and Daniel felt that familiar ache, the one that whispered, she'll never see you the way you see her. He hated that voice. He wanted to silence it. But then Amanda leaned closer, her shoulder brushing his, and the voice drowned in the rush of his pulse. By midnight, they'd picked a venue, a color scheme, and a tentative guest list. Amanda closed the laptop with a sigh. This is insane. Daniel smiled faintly. Welcome to marriage. Amanda looked at him, her expression softening. You're handling this better than I expected. Daniel met her gaze, his voice quiet. I told you, I'm all in. Amanda's chest tightened. She wanted to ask what that meant. She wanted to ask if he was doing this for her or for the money or for something else entirely. But the words stuck in her throat, and instead, she said the safest thing she could. Thanks, Daniel. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Always. Chapter 7. Bachelor versus Bachelorette. Daniel Morris had imagined his bachelor night as something low-key: pizza, beer, maybe a game of cards with his mates. Nothing flashy, nothing dramatic. He wasn't the kind of guy who needed strippers or wild parties. He just wanted quiet before the storm of wedding chaos. And that's exactly what he got. 3 friends, a stack of greasy boxes, and a football game on TV. They teased him about settling down, joked about him finally joining the ranks, and Daniel laughed along, pretending this was just another night. But inside, he felt like a man standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into the unknown. Because this wasn't just a wedding. It was Amanda. And every time he thought about her walking down the aisle, his chest tightened with a mix of hope and dread. Hope that maybe, just maybe, she'd look at him and see more than a friend. Dread that she never would. Amanda's night was supposed to be quiet too. That's what she told Daniel when he asked. Just a few drinks with the girls, she'd said, smiling like butter wouldn't melt. And she believed it right up until her best friend, Kelly, hijacked the plan. Surprise, Kelly announced as Amanda slid into the backseat of her car. We're going dancing. Amanda blinked. Dancing? I thought we were going to that wine bar. Kelly grinned. Plans change. You're getting married, Mandy. We're celebrating properly. Amanda groaned. but the car was already moving, and arguing with Kelly was like arguing with a hurricane. 10 minutes later, they were walking into a neon-lit club pulsing with bass and bodies. Amanda tried to relax, tried to have fun. She even managed to laugh when Kelly shoved a cocktail into her hand and dragged her to the dance floor. But then she saw him, Ryan. Tall, broad-shouldered, with that easy smile that used to make her heart flutter. Her ex. The one who'd broken things off because he wasn't ready for commitment. The irony wasn't lost on her. "Wow," Ryan said, appearing out of the crowd like a ghost from a rom-com. "Amanda Green, it's been a while." Amanda's stomach flipped. "Ryan. Hi." Kelly squealed and vanished conveniently, leaving Amanda face to face with a man who represented every bad decision she'd ever made. And because the universe had a twisted sense of humor, the DJ switched to a slow song. Ryan held out his hand. "Dance?" Amanda hesitated. She thought about Daniel, steady, loyal Daniel, who was probably at home eating pizza and watching football. She thought about the kiss that had shaken her to her core. And then she thought about how easy it was to fall back into old habits. "Just one," she said, placing her hand in his. Daniel wasn't watching football anymore. He was staring at his laptop, jaw clenched, as Kelly's live stream played on the screen. He hadn't meant to click it. He'd been scrolling absent-mindedly when her name popped up with the caption, "Amanda's last night of freedom." Curiosity turned to nausea as the video showed Amanda laughing, dancing, glowing under the club lights. And then Ryan appeared. Daniel recognized him instantly. The ex who'd once made Amanda cry on his couch while Daniel sat helpless, wishing he could fix everything. Daniel's chest burned as Ryan pulled Amanda close, her arms sliding around his neck. The music slowed, and Amanda melted into him like they were the only two people in the world. Daniel slammed the laptop shut before he saw the kiss he was sure was coming. His heart couldn't take it. He felt humiliated, gutted, like a fool who'd signed up to be the backup plan. Enough. Enough pretending. Enough waiting for Amanda to see him. Enough living in limbo. Daniel grabbed the small duffel he kept at her apartment, stuffed his things inside, and left without a word, except for the note he scrawled on a scrap of paper and left on the kitchen table. "Amanda, I can't do this anymore. I went along with your crazy plan because I trusted you. We didn't even make it to the wedding day before you broke your promise. And to make it worse, you did it in front of all your friends and live-streamed it to the world. If your goal was to humiliate me, you succeeded. Well done. The wedding's off. Don't look for me." When Amanda stumbled into her apartment hours later, still buzzing from cocktails and music, she thought Daniel was out with his friends. She thought everything was fine, until she saw the empty space where his things had been. Until she saw the laptop on the coffee table, frozen on a frame of her slow dancing with Ryan. Until she found the note. Chapter 8. The livestream betrayal. Amanda Green had never liked silence. Her apartment was usually filled with music, laughter, or the comforting hum of conversation with Daniel. Tonight, silence pressed against her like a weight, heavy and suffocating. She kicked off her heels, humming under her breath, still riding the buzz of cocktails and neon lights. The night had been fun, unexpected, chaotic, but fun. She danced, laughed, even caught up with Ryan, felt harmless, familiar, like slipping into an old sweater, until she noticed the empty spaces. Daniel's duffel was gone. His jacket wasn't hanging by the door. The sneakers he always left by the couch, missing. Amanda frowned. "Daniel." Her voice echoed in the quiet. No answer. She wandered into the bedroom. Empty. The bathroom. Empty. Her pulse quickened. Maybe he was out with his friends? But then her gaze landed on the coffee table. The laptop sat open, screen frozen on a frame that made her stomach drop. Her arms around Ryan, swaying under club lights, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world. Amanda's breath caught. Oh no! She lunged for the laptop, heart pounding, and that's when she saw the note. A single sheet of paper, scrawled in Daniel's familiar handwriting. Her hands shook as she picked it up. "Amanda, I can't do this anymore. I went along with your crazy plan because I trusted you. We didn't even make it to the wedding day before you broke your promise. And to make it worse, you did it in front of all your friends and live-streamed it to the world. If your goal was to humiliate me, you succeeded. Well done. The wedding's off. Don't look for me." Amanda read it once, twice. The words blurred as tears stung her eyes. Her chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped out her heart and left nothing but guilt. "No." Her voice cracked. "No, no, no." She dropped the note and grabbed her phone, dialing Kelly with trembling fingers. The call connected on the second ring. "Hey, bride-to-be," Kelly chirped, still riding the high of the night. "Did you see the stream? You looked amazing." "Kelly?" Amanda cut in, her voice sharp with panic. "Daniel's gone." Kelly paused. Why?" "He's gone," Amanda whispered. "He left. He saw the stream." Kelly's gasp was audible. "Oh my God. Amanda, I didn't think." "You didn't think." Amanda's voice rose, raw and jagged. "You live-streamed me dancing with Ryan. You promised tonight would be quiet. I didn't know Ryan would be there." Kelly sounded frantic now. "I thought it was harmless." "Harmless." Amanda laughed bitterly, tears spilling down her cheeks. You just blew up my entire life. Kelly fell silent, but whispered, Amanda, I didn't make you dance with Ryan. Amanda hung up before she said something unforgivable because she knew Kelly was right. It wasn't Kelly's fault. Amanda's the one who broke her promise to Daniel. Her hands shook as she dialed another number. Daniel's, straight to voicemail. She tried again, and again. Nothing. Her chest tightened until she could barely breathe. She called his parents' house next, praying he'd gone there. His mother answered, warm and cheerful, until Amanda asked if Daniel was home. No, dear, his mom said gently. We haven't seen him in days. Is everything okay? Amanda swallowed hard, forcing a smile she didn't feel. Everything's fine, she lied, and hung up before the sob clawing at her throat broke free. By the time Amanda slid behind the wheel of her car, she was shaking so badly she could barely turn the key. She drove to her parents' house on autopilot, tears blurring the streetlights. Her mind replayed the note over and over, each word a knife. If your goal was to humiliate me, you succeeded. She hadn't meant to. God, she hadn't meant to. But when she pictured Daniel sitting alone, watching that stream, seeing her melt into Ryan's arms, she felt sick, because from his perspective, she had humiliated him. She had broken every rule they agreed on. And worst of all, she'd hurt the one person who had never let her down. Her mother opened the door, startled by Amanda's tear-streaked face. Honey, what happened? Amanda collapsed into her arms, sobbing. I messed up, Mom. I messed up so bad. Claire guided her to the couch, stroking her hair like she was 5 again. Talk to me. Amanda told her everything, the trust, the plan, the kiss, the live stream, the note. When she finished, her mother sat in stunned silence, then shook her head slowly. Oh, Amanda, Claire whispered. You didn't just hurt a man who's been by your side your entire life. You made him feel small, insignificant. Amanda flinched. I didn't mean. I know, Claire said gently. But you did. And if I didn't know better, I'd think you enjoy hurting Daniel, because you've been doing it for years. Amanda's breath hitched. That's not true. Claire gave her a sobering look. Honey, everyone knows Daniel's been in love with you, since before he could spell. Everyone except you. Amanda's heart stopped. He never said. When was he supposed to? Claire's voice sharpened. When you were always dating someone else, rubbing it in his face. Amanda stared at her mother, guilt crashing over her like a wave. Claire's next words cut deep. I'm not sure if you deserve a man like Daniel, she said softly. But I do know he didn't deserve what you did. Either fix this and mean it, or let him go. Amanda wanted to argue, but she couldn't, because her mother was right. And for the first time, Amanda saw her relationship with Daniel through his eyes, and the view was devastating. Chapter 9. Empty apartment, heavy heart. Amanda Green had never felt panic like this. Not when she missed a deadline. Not when she locked her keys in the car. Not even when Ryan broke her heart years ago. This was different. This was raw, suffocating, and clawing at her chest with every passing hour. Daniel was gone. She tore through the apartment like a woman possessed, checking closets, drawers, even under the bed, as if he might be hiding there, waiting to jump out and laugh at her for overreacting. But the truth was everywhere she looked. The empty spaces where his things had been, the silence that used to hum with his presence. Amanda sank onto the couch, clutching the note like it was a lifeline and a knife all at once. Her eyes burned from crying, but the tears kept coming, hot and relentless. If your goal was to humiliate me, you succeeded. The words echoed in her head, cruel because they were true. She hadn't meant to humiliate him. She hadn't meant to hurt him. But intentions didn't erase consequences. Her phone buzzed again, Kelly probably. But Amanda ignored it. She couldn't handle apologies right now. She couldn't handle anyone except Daniel, and he wasn't answering. Not his phone, not his texts. Nothing but silence. By day 3, Amanda was unraveling. She called his parents again, hoping maybe he'd shown up there. No luck. She drove past his favorite coffee shop, the park where he liked to run, even the hardware store where he bought tools for projects he never finished. Nothing. Everywhere she went, memories ambushed her. Daniel laughing in the kitchen, Daniel fixing her leaky faucet, Daniel sitting on this very couch watching bad movies and eating popcorn like it was gourmet cuisine. He was woven into every corner of her life, and now those corners felt hollow. Amanda's mother checked in daily, her voice firm but kind. Any luck? Amanda shook her head, staring at the floor. No, he's just gone. Claire sighed. Honey, you need to think about what you'll say when you find him. Amanda's throat tightened. If I find him. When? Claire corrected. Because you're not giving up. Amanda nodded, but inside, doubt gnawed at her. What if Daniel didn't want to be found? What if he'd finally had enough of being her safety net, her backup plan, her friend? The thought made her stomach twist, because Daniel wasn't just her friend. He was her anchor, her constant. And without him, Amanda felt like she was drifting in open water with no land in sight. On the 5th day, Amanda snapped. She couldn't sit in this apartment another second, drowning in guilt and silence. She grabbed her keys and drove to the only place that made sense, the lake cabin. Daniel loved that cabin. It was his escape, his sanctuary. If he was anywhere, he'd be there. The drive was a blur of rain-slick roads and frantic prayers. When she pulled up to the cabin, her heart slammed against her ribs. The lights were on. Amanda climbed out of the car, her legs shaky, and walked to the door. She knocked once, twice. No answer. She tried the handle. Unlocked. Inside, the cabin smelled like coffee and wood smoke. Daniel's duffel sat by the couch. Relief crashed over her so hard she nearly cried again. Then she saw him. Daniel stood by the window, staring out at the lake, his posture rigid, his hands shoved into his pockets. He didn't turn when she entered, didn't speak. Amanda's voice trembled. Daniel. He didn't move. You shouldn't be here. Amanda swallowed hard, stepping closer. I had to find you. Daniel laughed softly, bitter and broken. Why? To explain? To tell me it didn't mean anything? Amanda flinched. It didn't. Don't, he said sharply, spinning to face her. His eyes were dark, his jaw tight. Don't lie to me, Amanda. I watched you. I saw you melt into him like I wasn't even real. Amanda's breath hitched. It wasn't like that. Daniel's voice cracked, raw and jagged. Then what was it? Because from where I'm standing, it looked like you were having the time of your life while I sat at home like an idiot, thinking maybe, just maybe, you'd finally see me. Amanda's chest ached. Daniel. He shook his head, cutting her off. I've loved you for years, Amanda. Years. And I've been stupid enough to think that if I stayed close, if I was patient, you'd figure it out. But you didn't. You never did. And now I'm done. Amanda's world tilted. You love me. Daniel laughed again, hollow. Congratulations. You finally heard it. Too bad it's too late. Amanda's throat burned. It's not too late. Daniel's eyes locked on hers, fierce and wounded. Then prove it. Chapter 10. Silence and Self-Discovery. Daniel Morris had always thought silence was peaceful. That's why he loved the lake cabin. The way the water mirrored the sky. The way the trees whispered instead of shouted. But now, silence felt like a punishment. 5 days. 5 days of unanswered calls, ignored texts, and the steady hum of his own thoughts clawing at him. He'd come here to escape, to breathe, to figure out what the hell he wanted. Instead, he found himself pacing the cabin like a caged animal, replaying every moment of the last few weeks. The kiss, the wedding plans, the live stream. He could still see Amanda in that video, laughing, glowing, arms around Ryan like Daniel didn't exist. It wasn't just jealousy. It was humiliation. He'd agreed to her insane plan because he trusted her, because he loved her, and she'd broken that trust before they even made it to the altar. Daniel gripped the edge of the counter, staring at the coffee mug in his hand. He told her the truth, finally, after years of silence. I've loved you for years. The words had felt like ripping open his chest and handing her his heart. And what had she done? Stood there, wide-eyed, whispering it's not too late like that erased everything. Maybe it was too late. Maybe he was done being the nice guy who waited in the wings while Amanda chased every other man on the planet. He deserved more than scraps of attention. He deserved someone who chose him, without conditions, without contracts, without hesitation. But when he closed his eyes, all he saw was her. Amanda laughing at his terrible jokes. Amanda curled up on his couch in his hoodie. Amanda kissing him like the world had stopped spinning. Daniel cursed under his breath and shoved the mug aside. He didn't know what to do. He wanted to forgive her. He wanted to forget. He wanted to believe that kiss meant something. But he couldn't. Not unless Amanda proved she wanted him for him, not for money, not for convenience. Amanda wasn't doing much better. Back in the city, she was unraveling. Every day without Daniel felt like a year. She barely slept, barely ate, barely functioned. Her family kept asking questions she couldn't answer. Her friends tiptoed around her like she was made of glass. She hated herself, hated the choices that led here, hated that she'd hurt the one person who had never let her down. And the worst part? Her mother was right. Amanda had taken Daniel for granted for years, blind to what was right in front of her because she was too busy chasing what wasn't. Now she saw it. All of it. The way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention. The way he showed up every time she needed him. The way he kissed her like it mattered. Amanda sat on her bed, staring at the wedding binder she'd abandoned days ago. It felt like a cruel joke now, a monument to everything she'd broken. She didn't care about the trust anymore. She didn't care about the money. All she cared about was Daniel. And she was going to fix this. Somehow. Amanda grabbed her keys, her resolve hardening like steel. She didn't know what she'd say when she saw him. She didn't know if he'd listen. But she knew one thing. She wasn't letting him walk away without a fight. Chapter 11. The confrontation. Amanda's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly, her knuckles turned white. The road to the lake cabin stretched ahead like a lifeline, winding through autumn trees that blurred past her tear-streaked vision. Every mile felt heavier than the last, weighted with memories. Daniel teaching her to skip stones on this very lake. Daniel laughing so hard he spilled marshmallows into the fire. Daniel looking at her like she was the only person in the world. And she'd broken that. She'd broken him. When the cabin finally came into view, Amanda's heart slammed against her ribs. Lights glowed faintly through the windows. He was here. Relief and terror tangled in her chest as she parked and climbed out, her boots crunching on gravel. She knocked once, twice, no answer. Her pulse roared in her ears as she pushed the door open. Daniel stood by the fireplace, his back to her, shoulders rigid. He didn't turn, didn't speak. The silence was louder than any words. "Daniel," Amanda whispered. He didn't move. "What now?" Amanda swallowed hard, stepping inside. "I had to find you." Daniel laughed softly, bitter and jagged. "I wasn't lost, Amanda. I'm surprised it took you 5 days to remember my favorite hideaway. Why are you here? To explain? To tell me it didn't mean anything?" Amanda flinched. "It didn't. Don't." His voice cracked like a whip as he spun to face her. His eyes were dark, stormy, filled with a hurt so raw it made her chest ache. "Don't lie to me, Amanda. I watched you. I saw you melt into him like I wasn't even real." Amanda's throat burned. "It wasn't like that." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then what was it?" "I've known you longer than anyone else in my life other than family. I know you, Amanda. You were enjoying yourself after getting me to agree to your crazy idea and giving you 5 years of my life. You couldn't even pretend to care, Amanda." Amanda's breath hitched. "Daniel." He shook his head, cutting her off. "I love you, Amanda. But right now that love feels like a curse." Amanda's world tilted. "You love me?" Daniel laughed again, hollow and sharp. "Of course I love you. What other reason would a man have put up with you all these years?" Daniel smirked. Amanda stepped closer, her voice trembling. "It's not too late." Daniel's eyes locked on hers, fierce and wounded. "Then prove it." Amanda blinked. "How?" Daniel's voice was low, steady, every word a challenge. "Tell your family the truth. Tell Theodore the trust doesn't matter. Walk away from the money, because if you want me, really want me, it has to be about me. Not a contract, not a payout. Me." Amanda's chest tightened until she could barely breathe. "Daniel, that trust could change my life." Daniel's expression didn't soften. "Then take it, and let me go. Either way, I'll finally know where I stand with you. I'm not going to beg you to love me, Amanda. Pick whatever you want." Amanda's heart cracked wide open. "I don't want the money. I want you." Daniel's jaw flexed, but his eyes stayed guarded. "Words are easy, Amanda. Actions aren't." Amanda swallowed hard, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Then I'll show you. I'll tell them everything. I'll tell them I don't want the trust. I'll tell them I want you." Daniel stared at her for a long, agonizing moment, his breath uneven. "If you mean that, if you really mean that, then maybe it's not too late." Amanda nodded, her voice breaking. "I mean it." For the first time in days, Daniel's expression shifted. Still wary, still bruised, but with a flicker of hope. And Amanda clung to that flicker like it was oxygen. Chapter 12. The choice. Amanda Green had never been afraid of speaking her mind until now. Standing in her parents' living room, surrounded by family, with Theodore Green's sharp eyes fixed on her, Amanda felt like her voice had been stolen. The wedding binder sat on the coffee table like a silent judge. Her mother hovered nearby, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. Theodore leaned back in his chair, cane resting against his knee, looking every bit the king waiting for his subject to confess. Daniel wasn't here. That was the worst part. He told her what she had to do. Prove it. Not with words, but with action. And Amanda was about to do the hardest thing she'd ever done. She took a deep breath. "I need to say something." Claire looked up. "Amanda?" Amanda's hands trembled, but she clenched them into fists. "This wedding, this engagement, it started as a lie." The room went still. Even the clock seemed to stop ticking. Theodore's brows lifted, but his expression stayed calm. "Go on." Amanda swallowed hard. "The trust, the money. I thought I needed it. I thought it would change my life. So I asked Daniel to marry me. Not because I loved him, but because I wanted the trust." Claire's gasp cut through the silence like a blade. "Amanda, let me finish," Amanda said quickly, her voice cracking. "I was wrong. About everything. The money doesn't matter. The trust doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is Daniel." Her throat burned as tears welled in her eyes. "I love him. I've loved him for years, and I was too scared to admit it. I hurt him. I humiliated him. And if I lose him because of that, I'll deserve it. But I'm not taking the trust. I'm not taking a penny. I'm choosing him." Theodore studied her for a long, agonizing moment, his sharp gaze softening just enough to make Amanda's chest ache. "You're sure?" Amanda nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I'm sure." Theodore smiled faintly, like a man who'd just seen a plan come together. "Good." Claire pressed a hand to her mouth, eyes shining. "Amanda." Amanda wiped her cheeks, her voice trembling but steady. "I need to find him. I need to tell him." Theodore's smile widened. "He's at the cabin." Amanda blinked. "You knew." Theodore chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Amanda, I've been watching you two dance around each other for decades. I set up that trust because I wanted you to see what everyone else already knew. You belong together. Now go prove it." Amanda didn't wait another second. She grabbed her keys and ran, her heart pounding with a single, desperate prayer. Please let me be enough. Chapter 13. 5 years and forever. Daniel Morris didn't hear Amanda's confession firsthand. He heard it secondhand through a voicemail from his mother, then a text from Kelly, then a call from Theodore himself. She told them everything, Theodore said, his voice warm with quiet triumph. She walked away from the trust, said she didn't want a penny, said she wanted you. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed in the cabin, phone pressed to his ear, stunned into silence. He'd imagined this moment 100 times, but never like this. Amanda standing in front of her family, burning bridges for him. Daniel. Theodore's voice softened. She's on her way to you. Daniel's throat tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because, Theodore said, amusement lacing his tone. I've waited 26 years for you two to stop being idiots. Don't make me wait another day. The line clicked dead, leaving Daniel staring at the phone like it held the secrets of the universe. She chose him, not the money, him. For the first time in days, hope didn't feel like a cruel joke. Amanda drove like a woman possessed, the lake road winding beneath her tires as dusk painted the sky in shades of gold and violet. Her heart pounded with every mile, every second that separated her from Daniel. She'd done it. She'd told the truth. She'd walked away from the trust without hesitation, and it felt like freedom. When the cabin came into view, Amanda's breath caught. Lights glowed inside. He was here, still here. She parked, climbed out, and ran to the door before fear could stop her. She didn't knock this time. She pushed it open and stepped inside. Daniel stood by the fireplace just like before, but this time he turned when she entered. His eyes met hers, and Amanda saw everything she'd been missing. The hurt, the hope, the love that had always been there, waiting for her to be brave. Amanda's voice shook. I told them. Daniel's jaw flexed. Told them what? That it started as a lie? Amanda said, tears spilling down her cheeks. That I asked you to marry me for the trust. That I was wrong. That I don't want the money. I don't want anything but you. Daniel stared at her, his breath uneven. Amanda. She stepped closer, her voice breaking. I love you, Daniel. I've loved you for years, and I was too scared to admit it. I hurt you. I humiliated you. And if you never forgive me, I'll deserve it. But I'm not walking away without telling you the truth. Silence stretched between them, thick and fragile. Then Daniel moved, slowly at first, then all at once, crossing the room and pulling her into his arms like he'd been drowning and she was air. Amanda clung to him, sobbing into his shoulder as his hands framed her face, tilting it up. His eyes burned with everything he couldn't say, so he said it the only way he knew how, with a kiss. It wasn't hesitant this time. It wasn't for show. It was deep, fierce, and full of years they'd wasted and years they still had to claim. When they broke apart, breathless, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. 5 years, he whispered. Amanda blinked. What? Daniel smiled, soft and certain. 5 years was the deal. But I'm thinking forever sounds better. Amanda laughed through her tears, her heart soaring. Forever sounds perfect. Daniel kissed her again, and this time, it felt like home. The wedding day, the vineyard glowed under a soft spring sun, rows of green stretching like ribbons across the hills. White chairs lined the aisle, draped in flowers that looked like they belonged in a magazine spread. Amanda Green stood at the edge of it all, clutching her bouquet and trying not to hyperventilate. This is insane, she whispered to Kelly, who was fussing with the hem of Amanda's dress. 3 months ago, I was bribing Daniel with chocolate cake. Now I'm about to marry him for real. Kelly grinned. And you look like a goddess doing it. Stop panicking. Amanda tried to smile, but her stomach was a knot of nerves and joy. She wasn't panicking because she doubted this. She was panicking because she wanted it so badly. Wanted Daniel, wanted forever. Wanted to make up for every second she'd wasted. The music started. Amanda's breath caught as she stepped into the aisle. And then she saw him. Daniel stood at the altar in a tailored navy suit, looking like every dream she'd never let herself have. His eyes locked on hers, and the world fell away. No guests, no flowers, no vineyard, just him. When she reached him, Daniel took her hand, his thumb brushing her knuckles like a promise. You're late, he teased softly. Amanda laughed, tears pricking her eyes. You're lucky I showed up. The officiant cleared their throat, but Daniel didn't look away from her. You ready for this? Amanda nodded, her voice trembling. More than ready. The ceremony was a blur of vows and laughter and happy tears. Amanda promised to love him without conditions, without contracts, without hesitation. Daniel promised to never let her forget that she was his first choice and his last. When the officiant finally said, You may kiss the bride, Daniel didn't hesitate. He kissed her like he'd been waiting his whole life, and maybe he had. The crowd erupted in cheers. Theodore wiped a suspicious tear from his eye, muttering something about finally. Claire sobbed into a handkerchief. Kelly snapped a photo that would break the internet. Amanda pulled back just enough to whisper against Daniel's lips. 5 years. Daniel smiled, his eyes shining. Forever. And as they walked down the aisle hand in hand, Amanda knew this wasn't the end of a crazy plan. It was the beginning of everything she'd ever wanted. Epilogue. Theodore Green sat in his favorite armchair, a glass of brandy in hand, watching the newlyweds dance under strings of fairy lights. The vineyard glowed like something out of a storybook, and Theodore allowed himself a smug smile. Not because of the flowers or the music or the fact that the caterer had finally gotten the hors d'oeuvres right. No, Theodore was smug because his plan had worked. He'd spent years watching Amanda and Daniel orbit each other like two stubborn planets, neither willing to admit what everyone else could see. It was maddening. He tried gentle nudges, family dinners, subtle hints, even the occasional pointed remark, but nothing cracked their ridiculous facade of just friends. So he'd gotten creative. The trust had been a gamble, sure. A little dramatic, perhaps. But Theodore had learned long ago that people rarely move unless the ground shakes beneath them. And oh, how the ground had shaken. He took a sip of brandy, savoring the warmth. Amanda had surprised him. He'd expected resistance, excuses, maybe even a tantrum. Instead, she'd stood in front of her family and burned every bridge for Daniel. Walked away from a fortune without blinking. That was love, the kind Theodore respected. The kind worth fighting for. Daniel, for his part, had finally grown a spine. Theodore had worried the boy would keep playing the patient martyr until his heart withered. But no, Daniel had drawn his line in the sand, and Amanda had crossed it without hesitation. Good for him. Good for both of them. The music shifted to a slow melody, and Theodore watched as Daniel pulled Amanda close, their laughter mingling with the soft hum of conversation. They looked happy, truly happy. Not the brittle, performative happiness Theodore had seen at too many society weddings. This was real, earned, messy and imperfect and absolutely beautiful. Theodore chuckled to himself, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. 5 years, he murmured. What a ridiculous condition. He raised his glass toward the couple, his voice low but full of satisfaction. Here's to forever, you stubborn fools. And for the first time in a long time, Theodore felt like the world was exactly as it should be.